Today I'm going to talk to you about my learnings from sport. I'm going to try and relate sport to business. We all know sport is about teamwork and about excellence. I'm going to try and give you my views relating to sport, to the above, and my experiences and how I believe one can reach excellence in life. I am passionate about sport. I have worn many a hat, from being an athlete, a coach, a sports administrator, sitting on board of companies, to various charitable organizations, sitting on world bodies. But at the end of the day, my heart is in sport, and I relate my life to sport and its learnings from it. It all started at St. Mary's School, which was the place where I started my athletic career. This is about an incident that actually changed my life, and I took up to sport very, very seriously. You see in the picture, that's Mr. Jaldi Pardiwala, who was my mentor. He was a doyen of Indian athletics, and Mr. J.R.D. Tata. It was a slap from Mr. Pardiwala that changed my life, and when he passed away, this is the tribute I wrote to him. Take, for example, every company comes up with a vision, mission, objectives, KPIs, etc. After they look at that, you formulate a strategy after looking at after doing an internal and external analysis. Then you have programs, activities, you put in resources, and you execute your program. If things don't go out well, you make course corrections and move to plan B. It is absolutely the same for an athlete who's training for the Olympic Games. For example, every athlete has a vision, say, to win an Olympic medal. He has a vision. He sets out his objectives, which are short-term and long-term. Then he sets out KPIs or targets for himself. Then he does an internal analysis of his personal strengths and weaknesses. He does an external analysis of who the competition is, and hence then a strategy is formed. And if something goes wrong in between, you get an injury, something happens, then you change your strategy, you change midway, you make a course correction. This is exactly the diagram that you see you use in an organization as well as on a sports field. Everybody talks about end, the destination. I want to graduate as an MBA, say from Harvard or MIT, be an engineer, Johns Hopkins, be a doctor. Why? Because I want a starting salary of, say, $150,000. Isn't that something that all of us is on the top of our minds? Well, that takes us to the perennial degree of path versus end. Let us discuss journey versus destination. What is more important? I can understand why most people think end is critical, as end is a driver of ambition. We always set ourselves these result goals and want to get there at all cost. The end gives us a vision, and ambition is a driver. And I think it is the end that excites most of us in this room, isn't it? In sport, we've had this debate on journey versus destination many times. Well, for those who argue destination is most important, let me assure you, through my experiences in sport, that it adds to anxiety and turbulence in our system. This is one of the reasons because of which athletes choke, as you know, because end is so important for you that you start getting anxious, your blood pressure starts to rise, you start feeling butterflies in your stomach, you are on edge, your muscles tense, you feel uneasy, squeamish, sometimes even sick, and that's when you get into a down spiral, because of which you perform below than your best. Now, this could happen to you on a sports field, this could happen to you in examination, or even in an interview, and I'm sure most of you have experienced this. Again, when we give so much importance to the end result and take up the attitude of winning at all cost, that creates temptation of doing whatever it takes to win. And once you start your journey down that path, one really does not want to check whether the path you're following is the right one or not. Hence, cheating, doping in sport, or bribery, corruption in real life. I have seen time and again athletes who have chased cash as their end have lost their performance. I believe that the path to excellence is through performance, and money will follow. So make the process of achievement supreme and the result irrelevant. The idea is to perfect the process of performance and don't let the pressure of the result choke your performance. And that is a wonderful journey on the path to excellence. Let me give you a simple example of my own event, the 100-meter sprint. Say I'm running in lane 3. I have no control over the other 7 competitors, but I have full control over myself. However, if I start worrying about the end or the performance of other competitors, I will start getting anxious, I will start to choke, thus will not be able to perform to my best. I have seen through experience most races are won and lost, not because somebody else is better, but because I did not perform to the best of my ability. I'll give you a small example of a time when I was running in Germany. This was a race in which there was Carl Lewis and Ben Johnson, and the first race I ran in Cologne, I got hammered. I got hammered in that race. I ran very, very poorly. When I came back, I talked to my coach and he said, "What did you do?" I said, "I tried to run as fast as I could." And he said, "No, that's not what you did. You tried to run somebody else's race. You tried to run Carl Lewis's race." So he said, actually it was not tomorrow, it was 2 days later, we were running in Koblenz. And he said, what you will do is literally run with blinkers, focus on a spot 10 meters beyond the finish line. You will not look right or left. You will run your race. And what do you think happened? I set a new national record. So this is very important that you focus on what you're doing. When we seek excellence, we normally seek excellence in the result. But I'm convinced excellence exists in preparation. Great sportsmen or great individuals from different fields become who they are because they excel in preparation. What you see, say, in a race is only the end result of what has gone into hours, days, months, years of preparation. And that is why top athletes set themselves performance goals and not result goals. I'll give you a small example. Say getting out of a block, getting out of a starting block for a sprinter. I have never ever in my life fouled a start, whether it's school sports, college sports, university sports, nationals, international. However, 99% of the time I was first out of the starting blocks in a race. And that is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about excellence exists in preparation. This is an interesting slide. I'm sure some of you recognize the gentleman there. This is Major Kuldeep Singh Chandpuri. He was a dear friend and international walking judge. He is famous for the Battle of Longewal. This is where 120 soldiers stopped an attack of over 200 Pakistanis in Longewal. They had one M40 Jeep versus 40 tanks. At the end of it, they held through the night. 2 Indians were killed, 200 Pakistanis were killed. We destroyed 36 tanks out of 40. And in the morning, the Air Force came and helped us. There was a movie made, though not too accurate on this, but this is what I'm talking about, teamwork. This is all about teamwork. And great teams perform well because they prepare well. Take it in sport or in any walk of life. And the best example to my mind is the services, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force. One wonders what they do in peacetime. But the amount of preparation that they put in, the amount of exercises that they do exercises with foreign countries, they do exercises internally. And that is what they do. They prepare at peacetime. And for example, their teamwork. Look at what happened at the Kargil War. The Bofors artillery first softened the positions of the opposition. Then the Air Force went in and did airstrikes. And only then did the foot soldiers go up Tiger Hill. So that is what is known as teamwork. So when you study at home, you practice on a track. Whether you're trying to get better every time, on every run, you must put in 100% every time. And the next one, again 100%. And wait for the next opportunity and give it another 100%. And if you practice this in life, then one really understands the difference between good and great. If you've given 100% and still lose, then you sleep well. You shake your opponent's hand and say, well done. There is no shame in saying that. Remember one thing, never grudge somebody's success, because if you grudge theirs, they will grudge yours. Excellence never seeks excuses. The moment you say, I could have done better, but then you're trying to assign the blame of your performance on someone else. And in that case, you will never improve. In life, if you seek excellence, then always surround yourself with people better than you. If you feel insecure, then you will surround yourself with people lesser than you. And if you do that, you will stop learning, you will stop growing. I have in fact paid a higher salary to somebody who worked for me than what I took home. So you have to get good people, you have to work with good people, and only then you will become better. The other thing I have noticed is when we reach a certain level, we don't like criticism. I have realized that it's very important that people correct you and tell you what you're doing is wrong. In sports, you have a lot of fans and they start saying nice things about you and you start believing that it's true. But remember, fans can never see any wrong in you and they are not your best friends. So, if you are a sportsman, don't marry your fan. And I'm going to tell you a story of my life. In the early 80s, when I returned from Moscow Olympics, I met this extremely smart, pretty young lady in her early 20s. I was introduced to her and she told me she'd never heard of me. My ego was totally deflated. To save face, I told her her general knowledge on sports was very bad. She made no effort. It made no difference to her. Well, we got to know each other better and we were married a few years later. And through our 35 years of marriage, she is my best friend and my greatest critic. And she keeps me well grounded at all times. So I could have never married somebody who was in love with my 50 plus national and international medals. Arrogance is one of the biggest stumbling blocks on the path to excellence. In the sports world, if you have ego, anger, arrogance, then you really don't need an opponent. You will beat yourself. A lot of us pay a lot of emphasis on talent. And when we look at talent, we say, wow. But that's what talent does to us. It dazzles us. Yet I have found in most parts, excellence has got nothing to do with talent. The most important thing is what you do with talent, and that's what matters. And that brings you to another attribute, attitude. Beyond a point, attitude counts for more than talent, because talent breeds ego. And beyond the point, talent never solves problems, probably causes more failures, because talented people have it so easy and they depend so much on it that they finally make mistakes. I was definitely not the most talented. There were athletes who were far more talented than me. But on the track, they never ever beat me. An Australian coach once said to me that you could never be selected for the core Australian commando team if you had not experienced failure at some point or the other in your career. You had to be someone who had failed and then bounced back, and that is when attitude comes in. People think mistake is a shame. Mistake is actually your best friend, and you learn not what to do from your mistakes. However, one must learn from their mistakes and not repeat them over and over again, because mistakes teaches you what not to do, and that's when you come closer to excellence. Everybody seems to think practice makes you perfect. No. Practice does not make you perfect. Only perfect practice can make you perfect. Also remember, excellence lives in the present and not in the past. You are all lucky to be educated at a great institution. It will depend on each and every one of you, how you grab hold of the opportunity that you've been given to achieve your fullest potential. However, whatever you do in life and whatever you become in the future, remember 3 words, humata, hukata, huvareshta, which means good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. There is only one path, and that is the path of truth. There is one thing I want to say: things will be tough, things may not go the way we planned it, things will go wrong. We must work as a team, help each other through good and bad. Remember, winners never quit, quitters never win. We are all winners, we shall all overcome. Thank you, God bless.